Well, now it's October, and even though I meant to do a video like this like 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm going to talk about how we started the school year in AP Studio Art. Now, first I'm going to talk about how our school day is structured here, and how I got prepared to teach this course, and then we'll move into what we did to start the school year, why we did those things, how it went, and then catch up to now. And hopefully from here you can expect videos every 2 weeks or so. Fingers crossed. You know, I'm being forgiving of myself getting back into the YouTube thing. Alright, so first I went to a week-long, very immersive summer institute put out by the College Board. So it's called APSI, AP Summer Institute. And I went to the one at St. Johnsbury Academy in St. Johnsbury, Vermont. I'm in Massachusetts, so I could drive there. I didn't have to fly, but there were people from all over the country and other countries as well. It was a really great experience, and I highly recommend it. If you are a person, if there is any way at all that you can attend one of these workshops, these summer institutes in person, that's what you should do. Being an art teacher and an artist, the idea of doing something like that virtually did not appeal to me. Maybe it appeals to you, maybe that works for you, but I know myself, and I know that if I am at home trying to attend meetings, that there will be constant interruptions, disruptions, and it'll be hard for me to focus on that, even if there weren't disruptions. The fact that, dishes need to be done over there or something, that would distract me. So it was important to me that I be on site and in person for that, and it was definitely a good choice. The facilities at St. Johnsbury Academy, phenomenal. They just have amazing spaces to work in. So for someone teaching AP art anything, you should go. Okay. Another place that I get a lot of information is YouTube. So on the College Board website, they have many videos, right down to having a video for every standard your students should be meeting throughout the school year. Personally, I find them a little dry. No offense, College Board people, I know you're working hard. But every time I've tried to show those videos to a class, within 5 minutes, everybody's including me. So I've used them, but I don't prefer them. What I prefer are YouTube videos made by other teachers or students. I find videos by other kids to show my students in class because, I don't know, they're just on the same level. It works better. And it's great for me also to see the perspective of other students who aren't in front of me, but that are doing the same work. Our schedule. All right, I'm gonna show our schedule while I talk about it. All right, that's our schedule. Every period is approximately 45 minutes long. I know here it's 47, 47, 49, 49, 50. But by the time kids are here and seated, it's about 45 minutes. And it's a traditional 7-period schedule. So our lunch block is here. That's why it's longer, because 25 minutes of it is lunch. So in that schedule, every day we meet. So some classes are a semester long, but AP is a full year class and it has a lab. So what that means is that every other day we meet for 2 blocks, which is great. So full year meeting for 45 minutes every other day, and 90 minutes every other day. So it's really, it's consistent, it's frequent, and I feel like it's enough time for students to not have to do much at home unless they're really, really trying to push and want to. Yeah, so that's our schedule. Next on the docket, I keep a living document of how I teach this class. And it's basically like I have every single day of the year in there, and whether it's A day, which is the double, or B day, which is a single period. And that allows me to, as things come up, if I'm on social media and I find a cool artist or technique that I want to share, I'll copy a link, if I can, if the website's available and I'm allowed to like show it on my school laptop, and I'll put it into whichever day, like whichever sort of part within the school year it's applicable to. And as time goes on, they just increase, and I've got them like throughout. I'll show that as well. I don't know how to share my screen or like screen record, so sorry, I'm gonna actually film my screen. I don't know if it's gonna work. So, seems to be working. This is the one from last year, and I actually have another going for this year, then I'll combine them when I decide what works best. But essentially, I just write everything down. Talks about like the difference between the 2 days, and then every single day of the year is on here, even if there's not anything on it yet. And my plan is to show like a 5-minute quick thing, whether it's a skill or materials or an artist that's inspiring on the single block days, and then on the double block days I do something for 15 to 20 minutes, just to make sure that the kids in AP are constantly learning and getting what they need. Oftentimes the demos that I'm doing are inspired by whatever struggles kids are having. They get stuck and they need a demo, I'll utilize that and have that become what everybody gets a brief demo on. And then let me just go to this year's tab. Okay, so this is this year, where I'm ironing it out, and it's more sort of concise. I've got more information as well. And I'm trying to make sure that that I just include everything. Okay, and then I go back and fill things in and combine this with last year's document, and then I'll have, you know, something more workable, and it will improve each year. We started the school year with building sketchbooks from scratch, starting with paste paper. Like you can see all behind me, these are paste papers that were made during that time. And I have them build their own sketchbook for so many reasons. If you're interested in that specifically, please go to the playlist that I'm working on my channel page, because it's a separate thing, although it is incorporated into AP. The whys and the ins and outs of creating a sketchbook in this style from scratch. One of the reasons that I do it is because it's so loose and freeing, and so many kids arrive at the start of the school year just like kind of tense and nervous. There's a lot of anxiety, especially about an AP course. So it's a good way to start, to encourage everybody to loosen up. And in the end, they have a work of art that they have made every part of, and that then they work in throughout the year, throughout the class. And during the part where they are stitching the binding, because they are Coptic bound, which means like you stitch the binding. It's like sewing, and it's very meditative. So during that part, when everybody's sewing, that's where I have them start brainstorming for their SI. Like I talk them through it. They have like paper and pens by them so they can write things down. I have them do a mind map during that time and narrow everything down as well. And that's the first 2 weeks of school. So after 2 weeks building sketchbooks. We start to actually dive into planning the SI, narrowing down topics, and students create a proposal for that. And while I'm thinking of it, all of these things are laid out on the class calendar, and I've tried to like color code it and make it easy to read, so that they can just glance up and see what that is. So I'm going to share that too. In this cabinet, where it's, there's just items that are specifically for AP that are like fancier, so they're in this one cabinet. And then on the door, that's where I have the calendar. So on Mondays, sketchbook homework is due. I'll talk about that in a few minutes. And then on Fridays, grades are put in, and then occasional special events, like we had a rep from Montserrat come. Oh, actually, sorry, this one didn't come yet, but we had a rep from Mass Art come a couple of weeks ago. So Montserrat coming up, but those are in orange. And I just put anything important on here so that it's easy for kids to look at quickly. Like, when is a process critique? Oh, it's tomorrow. When is the actual full presentation and critique of the first work? That's Friday. So everything goes on here, and the kids know what each thing means, which is all that matters. This is September. I put it in the back now, but each Monday homework is due, and you can see the prompts on there. One word prompts, because, well, I wanted them all to be words that have many different ways of defining them to see what kind of things kids would come up with. And it's been working. It's great. We've been doing one-word sketchbook prompts due on Mondays. Due on Mondays because then they have the weekend if they put it off during the week when they're doing other things. That's fine. Okay, so I just basically made like a card deck with index cards, and then each time I get an idea for one, I just write it on a new card. I've got like blanks all over the place. So the idea behind this is that I wanted to give them something to work off of, like some kind of starting idea or theme or concept, but I didn't want it to have so many details that they were all going to come back looking the same. I wanted it to be something that each kid had to interpret in their own way. So I picked a bunch of words that have many meanings. So let's see, for example, these are the ones they've done so far. Age. Age was due today. Age is interesting. Like, age in terms of like millennia, age in terms of how old a person is, age in terms of wear and tear on something. There's just so many ways to interpret that. So it's really interesting. Each Monday we just line all the sketchbooks up across a table and then look at them and discuss. Usually there's a few similarities and so many differences, and it's just a really wonderful way to start the week. Belonging. Space. Space, like in art, like negative space and positive space, or like outer space, or spacing out. Like, there's just so many, like, give me space. So many ways to interpret each of the words. Light, control, etc., etc. So that's what I choose to do for sketchbook prompts. Sketchbook is the only homework my students have that's assigned. Other than that, work done at home outside of the art studio is up to them. If they need to or want to put in more time, great. But if they don't, then they can plan accordingly to use their school time, like their in-class time. And like I said before, that should be enough. if they're planning and managing their time, they'll be all set. After sketchbooks are finished, I have them glue in their prior notes, their mind maps, and any other notes that they took regarding their brainstorming while they were building the sketchbooks. So they had that on a separate paper. Now it's glued in and everything can be all in one place. When sketchbooks are turned in and we look at them, appreciate them, then we move into the assignment for the sustained investigation proposal. That's something that I'm using one, like a lesson that is, or rather a slide deck, that was shared at the AP Summer Institute that I went to by Sarah Pers and Laura Skehan. I think I don't want to guess at where they're from. I want to say Ohio, but I might be wrong. I'd have to go and look them back up. But at that conference, so many people were just sharing their work, willingly sharing, which is something I deeply believe in as well. So in this case, where it's not like the original work wasn't mine, I'm not going to share that. But typically in any videos that I make, I do share the content I've created in the description. So always check the description of my videos if you're interested in having more resources available. So I give them, because they've already got things underway from when they were sewing their sketchbooks. They've got things mind mapped, they've narrowed their ideas down and landed on a solid idea for their SI, and now it's time to develop that idea further. So they take the time to develop a question, their guiding question for this investigation, and then they work on wording that in a way that's suitable for an AP course. And I work with them on that. They talk with each other, they talk with their parents, they talk with other teachers, and then they land on their guiding investigation question. They also have to write a paragraph or 2 or 3 describing how they came to that end with that question and what their plans are as of now in the beginning of the school year for how they will investigate this topic. Then they have a mood board and any other inspiration from their own past work or artists that they admire or whose work they admire on other slides, so that they present this. When they present it to the class, everybody else can get a really good grasp of what they're going for, because I encourage them throughout the year to rely on each other. Like, this is an artist community here in this studio, and they need to be able to speak to each other candidly and ask questions, give thoughtful replies to other people, and so on. So I want them to really know what each other have planned and are thinking, so that they can do that too. And after, I think I give them, 3 class days, so that's 2 doubles, so a double, a single, a double, and then presentations for that lesson. And then after the presentations, I ask them to start planning their first SI piece. I did it differently last year, but I decided this year to dive right in and have them start rolling on their SI, because I want to incorporate lessons with materials and skill builders and things like that in the 5-minute or 15-minute chunk of time at the start of class. So, well, we'll see what's better at the end of this year, if I did it better year 1 or year 2. Yeah, I have a history as a tab teacher, so the way I run AP is very similar to the way I run a tab classroom, with just 5-minute skill builders in the beginning of class, or in this case where there's a double block, sometimes longer ones. But that seems to work because you can flex what you're doing based on what kids need in the moment. Yeah, and I like the organicness of that. So that's the way that I do it. All right, couple of other things to go over. Dates and deadlines. I'm trying to stick to 2 or 3 weeks of work time for each project or SI piece, with the understanding that here and there, maybe I put a 2 or 3 day thing in between projects, but overall 2 or 3 weeks with hard deadlines. Meaning that if there's a 2-hour delay or a half-day early dismissal or a snow day or somebody's sick, the deadline's not going to change because the portfolio submission deadline in May is not going to change. So the deadlines remain the same. So if kids are missing school for some reason, whether it's because they are sick or because it snowed, they're still expected to have the piece done by that day. I just feel like that's the way to do it. Otherwise, the whole class structure will fall behind. So I'm sticking with that. But then, of course, there's always flexibility for personal situations. Not in terms of weather, etc., but in terms of if a student is working on a portfolio in a way that doesn't quite fit that format, then okay, the situation will be different for them. Like if they're working on pieces that take a lot longer because they're so much more detailed, we would break their work up into chunks that will be critiqued, so they can get input in the same time frame. So they would still, at whatever stage they're at in their own personal work, that would be shown at that 2-week or 3-week stop time where we will critique. And sketchbooks. Sketchbooks are a weekly assignment. That's their homework assignment. And then they're also for preparing and exploring materials and ideas for their next piece. And that's something that is my goal for my evaluation for this year, is to show a lot of improvement in that area. So I'm waiting through a couple of assignments, or not assignments, but you know what I mean. I'm waiting for them to get a couple of artworks into the school year, doing their sketchbooks, whatever way they do it now, in order to prepare for a project or a work of art. And then I'm going to present to them like a specific way that I would like to see it done, to try to pull more out of them, so that it shows growth for my evaluation. So that'll be something I'll speak to, I don't know, in a month or so, how to work in a sketchbook in a way that is exploratory in planning a next work, even if it's someone who works intuitively and spontaneously. One of my students in AP this year is very much that kind of artist. They work kind of on the fly and put down materials onto the canvas or paper, and then let what happens organically kind of lead to the next step. And that's a totally valid way to work. And I want to respect and support that kid, but also have them still able to utilize their sketchbook in a way that it's helping to feed their practice. So stay tuned, that's coming up. All right, thank you for watching. I hope this is helpful. If it's helpful, please give me a thumbs up, maybe subscribe, follow, knowing that there's more content coming. Yeah, bye.